This is a Mountain News Special Report 2024, the year in review. From our studios in Hazard, here's Steve Hensley.
Good evening and welcome to our Year in Review special. It was a year when politics dominated the headlines. President-elect Donald Trump made history both at the ballot box and in the courtroom. CBS's Natalie Brand begins our look back at the year in politics.
Supporters cheered former President Donald Trump's decisive White House win.
Elected your 47th president and your 45th president.
On his road to a second term, Trump bested a large GOP primary field.
Former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley
hung on until March as the last challenger standing.
It is now up to Donald Trump to earn the votes of those in our party and beyond it who did not support him.
With the path clear, Trump turned his attention to President Joe Biden. The two met on the debate stage in June.
Dealing with everything we have to do with, look, if we finally beat Medicare.
President Biden couldn't deny his disastrous performance.
I don't speak as smoothly as I used to.
And with his campaign in a tailspin, Trump's poll numbers climbed. Then on July 13th, a would-be assassin targeted the presumptive Republican nominee at a rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. The shooter killed a volunteer firefighter, critically injured two rally-goers, and grazed Trump's ear. The gunman was killed on scene, but the extraordinary security failure triggered a reckoning for the Secret Service. 2 days later, Trump kicked off the Republican National Convention with vice presidential pick J.D. Vance.
I stand before you in this arena only by the grace of Almighty God.
Pressure on the Biden campaign reached a boiling point. The 81-year-old president bowed out of the race. Democrats quickly coalesced around Vice President Kamala Harris.
It is my intention to go out and earn this nomination.
She did, becoming the first woman of color to secure a major party presidential nomination. She picked Minnesota Governor Tim Walz as her running mate and built new enthusiasm for the ticket, headlining a spirited convention.
The consequences of putting Donald Trump back in the White House are extremely serious.
But in November, Trump swept every battleground state.
America has given us an unprecedented and powerful mandate.
His victory came despite his conviction in New York on 34 felony counts related to hush money payments to adult film star Stormy Daniels. He repeatedly denied the allegations.
Let's indict him. Let's destroy his life.
Trump faced 3 other criminal cases, including federal election interference charges related to the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol. A ruling from the Supreme Court on presidential immunity sent prosecutors back to the drawing board. Then Trump's re-election put the cases on ice.
The special counsel released his findings today about their look into my handling of classified documents.
President Biden avoided charges over his handling of classified documents, but a jury convicted the president's son Hunter Biden on felony gun charges, and he pleaded guilty in a federal tax case. But ahead of any jail sentence, his father handed down a sweeping pardon. A busy Supreme Court struck down a federal ban on bump stock devices, overturned a lower court decision limiting access to the abortion medication mifepristone, and ruled an Idaho hospital receiving federal funds must allow emergency abortion care to stabilize patients.
The House will be in order.
When the next Congress convenes, Republicans will control the House and Senate, and the Senate will have a new leader, with Kentucky's Mitch McConnell leaving the Republican leadership role.
It's time for the next generation of leadership,
ushering in a new year of power for the GOP on Capitol Hill and in the White House. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Washington.
It was an eventful year in eastern Kentucky with some shocking stories that made national news. WYMT's Madison Carmouche takes us back through 2024 with a look at some of the biggest local news, weather, and sports headlines.
2024 took us through many highs and lows. At the beginning of the year, 24 students and their bus driver were taken to the hospital after their school bus collided with a coal truck and ended up over an embankment in Letcher County. 29th District State Senator Johnny Turner died after more than 1 month in the hospital following a lawnmower incident.
He has some loyal and devoted clients that have been calling ever since he's been in the hospital.
His death led to a historic write-in election with 11 candidates. Ultimately, Pineville Mayor Scott Maiden came out on top.
When I got that endorsement from the family, it really helped ease my mind and gave me a sense of, hey, it's okay, go ahead.
Perry County voted in John Hanson for his second go-round as Commonwealth's attorney after Scott Blair was sentenced to 54 months in prison for honest wire fraud. The November election also saw 2 mayoral appointees in Prestonsburg and Elkhorn City elected after their predecessor's resignation. Voters in more Kentucky counties approved alcohol sales and to allow medical cannabis businesses. The new statewide medical marijuana program launches at the beginning of 2025.
Today, Michael McKinney and Josh Mullins of Martin were arrested in Prestonsburg, and McKinney's son, Michael Kent, or M.K. McKinney, was arrested in Rowan County.
Eyes remained on the Amber Spradlin case in Prestonsburg after 3 suspects were arrested more than 1 year later, including a local dentist and his son.
Does he want to enter a plea at this time?
Your Honor, he would enter a plea if not guilty.
In September, Letcher County Sheriff Mickey Steins was arrested for shooting and killing District Judge Kevin Mullins.
After all the evidence has been collected, thoroughly gone through, and a conversation with the family has been had, and get their thoughts on the process. Steins
is now awaiting trial.
We do have those articles associated with the body that we do feel is Joseph Couch.
Nearly 2 weeks into a manhunt for Joseph Couch, the man suspected of shooting 5 people along I-75 in London, a couple found his body while searching for him on a live stream. Folks commemorated the 2nd anniversary of the July 2022 flood by unveiling a memorial plaque in downtown Hazard.
A lot of people lost just belongings, but for those 46 families, we lost something that can never be replaced.
And when Hurricane Helene hit other parts of Appalachia hard, Eastern Kentucky returned the favor and lent a helping hand.
So we just hope that everyone in the community will wrap their arms around these folks just like they wrap their arms around us.
Kentucky saw a big change on the basketball court with Coach John Calipari leaving the University of Kentucky for Arkansas and former UK player Mark Pope hired to lead the Cats.
Time for another voice. And you know I'm always going to be a fan. Thank you.
And the region celebrated when one Wildcat with Laurel County roots fulfilled his dreams in the 2024 NBA Draft.
Third pick in the 2024 NBA Draft, the Houston Rockets select Reed Sheppard.
Our Mountain family at WYMT also saw several changes, including the retirement of longtime morning forecaster Brandon Robinson after 17 years due to his ongoing battle with brain cancer.
This day was bittersweet, but we all knew it was coming. I hoped that it would be coming for a little while longer, but don't be sad. Most people don't survive brain cancer. I'm one of the lucky ones that has.
And we said goodbye to General Manager Neil Middleton after nearly 38 years with Gray Media.
I want to thank my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, because without him, none of this would have been possible. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you, and I love you.
Madison Carmouche, WYMT Mountain News.
The year is ending with some controversy for law enforcement. The Hazard police chief was fired after 2 lawsuits were filed against him, and questions are being raised after a deadly officer-involved shooting in Laurel County. We are just getting started in our Year in Review special. Up next, other top national and international stories, including a deadly bridge collapse and wars around the world. Conspiracy theories surrounded FEMA's response to a devastating hurricane in the south, and a deadly bridge collapse in Baltimore shut down the shipping channel at one of the nation's busiest ports. CBS's Bradley Blackburn looks at the stories that made national headlines in 2024.
A cargo ship lost power and rammed into Baltimore's Francis Scott Key Bridge in the spring, causing it to collapse.
The words that the Key Bridge is gone, it still shakes us.
6 construction workers on the bridge were killed. hurricane season brought Helene and Milton, storms that devastated parts of the South. Helene killed more than 100 people in North Carolina alone and led to disinformation surrounding FEMA's response, prompting agency teams to move operations to secure locations as a precaution. Protests over the Israel-Hamas war escalated on college campuses. Police clashed with demonstrators across the country while clearing out encampments. Some universities had their commencement ceremonies disrupted, while others canceled their main graduation altogether. The man accused of murdering Georgia nursing student Laken Riley was found guilty in November. Venezuelan migrant Jose Ibarra, who entered the U.S. illegally, was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. In December, a gunman killed United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson in front of a Midtown Manhattan hotel.
It appears the suspect was lying in wait for several minutes.
The 5-day manhunt ended at a Pennsylvania McDonald's, where police arrested a 26-year-old Ivy League graduate. 2024 marked the first time parents in the U.S. were held criminally responsible for a school shooting. James and Jennifer Crumbley were convicted of involuntary manslaughter in connection with the 2021 Michigan shooting their son carried out that left 4 students dead. Gun violence also shook Joel Osteen's Texas megachurch.
Of course, we're devastated. I mean, we've been here 65 years.
And the parade for the Super Bowl winning Kansas City Chiefs. It was an eventful year for golfer Scottie Scheffler, who won 7 tournaments, including the Masters, and got arrested at the PGA Championship. The charges were later dropped, citing a misunderstanding.
I just don't really know what to say about it, but yeah, everything else has been pretty special.
Scheffler also earned gold at the Summer Olympics, part of Team USA's 126 medal haul, the most at the Paris Games.
Caitlin Clark's first time.
Interest in women's basketball skyrocketed, thanks in large part to phenom Caitlin Clark, who broke both NCAA and WNBA records.
I feel like there were so many ways I could have been even better this year.
LA Dodgers superstar Shohei Ohtani became the first player to hit 50 home runs and steal 50 bases in a single season. His team went on to win the World Series. August saw the emotional family reunions of 3 Americans who had been wrongfully detained in Russia, including Marine veteran Paul Whelan and Wall Street Journal reporter Evan Gershkovich. They returned to U.S. soil following an historic prisoner swap.
I just say thank you to everybody. Thank you for all your prayers, your good wishes.
Boeing launched 2 NASA astronauts into space for the first time with its Starliner spacecraft, but problems plagued the planned 8-day mission, leaving the astronauts stranded on the International Space Station.
We all just went by each other.
Mysterious drone sightings across multiple states had Americans on edge. And finally, millions of Americans witnessed a celestial marvel, a solar eclipse where the moon blocks out the sun. It won't happen again in the continental U.S. until 2044. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News.
2 wars dominated international headlines in 2024, along with climate concerns and royal cancer revelations. CBS's Tina Krause is in London, England, with a look at the stories that shaped the world this year.
Israeli forces launched more strikes on Gaza in their mission to destroy Hamas as starvation gripped the Strip and anger grew over the suffering of Palestinian civilians. Ground troops killed the mastermind behind the October 7th attacks, but nearly 100 hostages, including several Americans, remain unaccounted for. War spilled into Lebanon, with Israel setting off a deadly mass pager explosion targeting rebel fighters and taking out the head of the Iran-backed militant group Hezbollah. Iran retaliated with an unprecedented attack against Israel, unleashing nearly 200 missiles. A shocking shift of power in Syria with the fall of dictator Bashar al-Assad. Armed rebels took control and Assad fled to Russia, where he was granted asylum. 2 years after Russia invaded Ukraine, Ukrainian forces lost more territory. Russia got a boost with North Korean troops joining the fight. North Korea tested a new intercontinental ballistic missile designed to threaten the U.S. mainland days before the presidential election, while China braced for unpredictability in its ties with the U.S. and renewed tensions over trade, technology, and Taiwan. The deadliest earthquake in 8 years hit Japan on New Year's Day. The 7.6 magnitude quake killed more than 230 people. 2024 became the hottest year ever, a repeat of the year before, as climate scientists warned the world is headed for a climate catastrophe without significant cuts to greenhouse gases. Cancer struck Britain's royal family, with both King Charles and Princess Kate treated for the disease, but few details revealed. 88-year-old Pope Francis was in a wheelchair for much of the year and spent nearly 2 weeks on a trip to Southeast Asia and the Pacific, the longest trip of his papacy. And the French capital hosted the Summer Olympics for a third time. American athletes grabbed 40 golds in Paris and topped the medal table after nearly 3 weeks of competition. Tina Kraus, CBS News, London.
One other highlight from 2024 came from Down Under, with Australia becoming the first country in the world to ban social media for children under 16. Later in our Year in Review special, the biggest entertainment headlines, including bombshell allegations against one of rap music's biggest stars. But next, a look back at the year's top health and business stories, and we'll remember some of those we lost this year. Lagging vaccination rates lead to record cases and deaths for several viruses, and the extra benefits from weight loss drugs. CBS's Michael George looks back at the top health stories of the year.
Studies showed weight loss drugs like Ozempic and Wegovy have wide-ranging benefits, from Alzheimer's disease to kidney function to addiction. They're so popular, copycat versions popped up.
They have not been safety tested. We don't know if they're as effective as the prescription drug.
The CDC says 2024 had 4 times the number of measles and whooping cough cases than the previous year. Pediatric deaths due to influenza hit a record high, due in part to lower vaccination rates. The American Red Cross declared an emergency blood shortage, with donors at a 20-year low.
People need to realize it's not that hard, it's not that much time.
Dozens of cases of H5N1 bird flu have been confirmed in people. Most infections are traced back to contact with farm or wild animals. Mosquito-borne illnesses caused some panic this summer. Several Massachusetts towns issued voluntary lockdowns in the evening to prevent infection of triple E.
These are recommendations. They're not hard and stop requirements.
A CBS News analysis found foodborne illnesses have increased 42% since 2013. They caused several high-profile recalls, including for E. coli at some McDonald's and for deadly listeria in Boar's Head deli meat.
They're happening more frequently.
The American Cancer Society found colorectal cancer is now the leading cause of cancer death in men under 50, and the second leading cause of cancer death for women of the same age. A separate ACS report shows Generation X and millennials have a higher risk of developing 17 cancers compared to older generations.
It's likely an environmental aspect, whether that's diet, lack of exercise, some other exposure.
The U.S. Preventive Services Task Force now recommends women start receiving mammograms at age 40 instead of 50 and get screened every other year up to age 74. Research from the Annals of Internal Medicine shows alcohol use spiked during the COVID-19 pandemic and stayed high through at least 2022.
People don't know where to get help. They don't know that they need help.
The CDC says opioid overdose deaths slowed to the lowest level since 2020, after peaking in 2023.
I'm blessed to have received this gift, a second chance at life.
And Tawana Looney became the 5th American to receive a gene-edited pig organ. Researchers say this experimental procedure could be a game changer someday for the thousands on transplant waiting lists. Michael George, CBS News.
Hurricane Helene also wreaked havoc in the medical world in 2024, closing a North Carolina manufacturer that left hospitals low on IV fluids. In 2024 business headlines, the Dow hit a record high after the presidential election. Also lifting the mood on Wall Street, the Federal Reserve cut interest rates after signs inflation had cooled. While prices trended lower, the Fed struggled to hit its 2% inflation target. Machinists staged a crippling 8-week strike at Boeing. A dock workers' strike triggered panic buying, but the Longshoremen's Union agreed to suspend the walkout until January while they continue negotiations. A massive technology outage in July snarled operations at companies around the world, and several name brands filed for bankruptcy, including Spirit Airlines, TGI Fridays, and Tupperware. The voice of Darth Vader, one of baseball's greatest players, and a music industry icon were among the notable people we lost in 2024. Here's a look back.
There comes a time when we heed a certain call, when the world must come together as one. There are people dying. Oh, when it's time to lend a hand to life, the greatest gift of all. We can't go on pretending day by day that someone somewhere will soon make a change. We are a part of God's great big family, and the truth, you know, love is all we need. We are the world, we are the children, we are the ones who make a brighter day, so let's start giving. There's a choice we're making, we're saving our own lives. It's true, we'll make a better day, just you and me. We are the world, we are the children, we are the ones who make a brighter day, so let's start giving.
Bombshell allegations against one of rap's biggest stars and Taylor Swift's big year are just a few of 2024's major stories from the world of entertainment. CBS's Johnny Backus takes a look back.
Shock waves reverberated through the entertainment industry when Sean Diddy Combs was arrested and indicted on racketeering, sex trafficking by force, and transportation for purposes of prostitution. More than 100 people have stepped forward accusing the rapper of inappropriate sexual conduct, and many also filed civil suits. Combs has pleaded not guilty. His trial is set for May.
This has been the most extraordinary experience of my entire life.
Taylor Swift's 5-continent Eras tour wrapped up in Vancouver after 149 performances. The singer canceled her Vienna shows in August because of threats of terrorism. Several people were arrested. Swift became the most streamed artist in a single day after her double album, Tortured Poets Department, broke the record for the most streamed album in a single day.
This ain't Texas.
Beyoncé went country. The Grammy Award winner released her Cowboy Carter album in March. The Golden Globes kicked off award season in January. Poor Things won for Best Musical or Comedy Motion Picture. Oppenheimer was named Best Drama Film. At the Oscars, Oppenheimer walked away with 7 awards, including Best Movie, Director, Actor, Supporting Actor, Score, and Technical Awards.
We wanted to make such a good first impression.
2024 was another big year for movies. The animated film Inside Out 2 was the highest grossing movie, surpassing $1.6 billion at the worldwide box office.
Hi, Peanut.
while Deadpool and Wolverine followed with $1.34 billion. TV fans were treated to the Emmy Awards twice in 2024 after the broadcast was delayed because of the Hollywood strikes. Shogun, Hacks, and The Bear were big winners. Miley Cyrus's Flowers claimed Record of the Year at the 66 Grammy Awards. Taylor Swift's Midnights won Album of the Year, and Billie Eilish won a Grammy for Song of the Year. Victoria Monet was named Best New Artist. Stereophonic won Best Play, while The Outsiders snagged the award for Best Musical at the 77th Tony Awards. The death of Liam Payne stunned music fans around the world. The former One Direction singer fell from a third-floor hotel balcony in Argentina. The top-rated CBS daytime drama The Young and the Restless aired its 13,000th episode in November. Those are some of the year's top entertainment stories. Danya Backus, CBS News.
Peacock's Days of Our Lives also aired its 15,000th episode, but lost two of its biggest stars in 2024, Bill Hayes and Drake Hogestyn, who played Doug Williams and John Black for decades. Thanks so much for joining us for this look back at 2024. While we lost some valuable members of our team this year, we are still your Mountain Television and dedicated to Eastern Kentucky. We look forward to bringing you the latest in local news, weather, and sports as we approach the station's 40th anniversary in 2025. Good night, everyone.